Chilly here with Sirius Dallas Moon, and this is Mercury Hour Mars Day. Mercury retrograde 16 degrees Cancer and is ruling over Ketu, Venus, Uranus, and Mars. And Venus is applying to square Mars, and she's applying to square Mars in Gemini. Ascendant closer to Al-Qaid, which is a good time to call on Al-Qaid. Emmy Heaven, also 26 degrees, but Gemini. They were both baskets. Moon is in Libra, will ingress to Scorpio, and it's applying to square Jupiter. And it's applying to square Jupiter from Scorpio, so there may be big emotional purges. Like I said, Jupiter is sign of the husband. And opposing Pluto. Pluto is taboo topics, power relations. And it looks like they can be... Yes, let's see when Mercury turns direct, because there are separations and they can arouse bitter feelings, let's say. Why bitter feelings? Again, the more ego-tripping some man was regarding subjugation of women. And maybe he thought that he is just saying it like it is. But he was saying that he is a human trafficker like it is. He was saying that he is a serial rapist like it is. That was he was telling like it is. He was saying that he gets off of being rapey, violator, subjugating, whatnot like it is. And at the time where the princesses ditched their Qatari oil company prince with a meme. So the bitterness can really be, the more a man was trying to subjugate a woman, even if he had feelings, the more he could end up feeling bitter. And as it's only showing the toxicity of the pattern. A woman is not something to take aggression on. A woman is not something to purge emotionally on. A woman is not something to treat subjugated when a person is feeling a loser in life. Okay, a person who is thriving in life is not treating women bad. Okay, and it can be a homeless. A woman is somebody that can be a best friend, somebody that can be a confidant, somebody that can be there for men even when everybody else is a bit weird, somebody that can check him in when certain things go overboard. But for a must, a pflicht. Let's just say, if you want to be a Nazi about something, be a Nazi about that, and you will have success in relations. This is completely antithetical to paperclip. A woman must be erotically safe with a man, non-erotically and erotically safe with a man, safe and free. Safe and free for a yes, safe and free for a no. Safe and free in a way that men forever will be safe for her erotically, even if they divorce, even if they separate. Not because they will sleep together, but because that's a must. This is the spinal cord of a man. Um, when there is such man in woman's life, then she evolves. She evolves, she grows. If he's, let's say, if she dates a man that is really like this, then naturally there are many patterns that would be very, how should I say that? If she tends to be a bit more like the man which is not safe, immediately she falls into a feminism. But has to be consistent. Immediately she feels more pleasant to, I don't know, take a longer bath, and if she goes to do manicure and the manicure has ultra, and Mein Kampf ultra, thank you, Annika Lucas, then she will try to find ways to do it herself. And of course it prompts a change, an alternative to that economy. Yeah, the greatest inventions came from a man that wanted to build something for his spouse or for his kitten or for his son or daughter, or together with the son or daughter. Or woman that her man liked, I don't know, particular type of food, and either she learned how to make it or she made sure that it always, and then she said, okay, I'm going to buy a restaurant where they serve this food the best, and he's going to have dividends in that restaurant. That type of spirit. Now, Jupiter opposing Pluto is rich in that juncture. Men cannot be erotically unsafe for women and expect the women to treat them well. It's not because the women seek to be evil. It's because it will only work with women that, how should I say, is still growing or still discerning. Or she will say, okay, this is friend, this is not, but then she will be discerning even about friends. Yes, and and it's not something that is negotiable. The nervous system is not negotiable. Her role is not to become a Zen master when her husband is mad. And if she had to do this once, let's just say, if it wasn't angering her and it wasn't harming anybody, then, but if she had to do this twice already, now, it's important to, yes, express emotions. Because if something gets to somebody that already got to take anger out emotionally or take anger out sexually on woman, it is not something that can be remediated. Cheating can be remediated. Yes, in fact, Aries is an Andromeda constellation, and in Andromeda, the power of reconciliation, according to Christopher Warnock, is so strong that even if there were lack of monogamy in praxis, couples can reconcile or remediate if they are compatible. Now, most of the cases, let's say, there's there's certain incompatibilities, or the why? Because trauma bonds or violence, it switches the people into coping mechanisms, and then the choice of the partners is not so. This is why until there's no recovery, there's no point to get married, let's say. Yeah, a woman can marry herself. I can have marriage ring or I have engagement ring. If I turn it over, it's like marriage ring. This I bought for me, myself. And particularly, what will be purged from society? The cultures I was talking about, cultures where the man takes a revenge of the woman that said no to him. That does all kinds of things. Um, and what are those things? Those things are humiliating to the man. Because if he's harming the woman and her ability, let's say, to get to know a person that is safe for her, that she's been isolated, that they tried to traffic her, that they've tried to film her, that she cannot live and she cannot work and whatnot, just because she said no to a man. Just because she didn't want to move in together with a man under his money or under his salary. And she was not a housewife, and she was not a person that works under any authority. And everything around was harming her ability to make income, her ability to have access to housing that is housing, torturing people so that they would scream in pain, so that the neighbors would think that they are the problem. Raping tenants so the devil ran away, torturing people so that the body tries to put walls and then they're not even able to fix or clean the room. This type of behaviors is behavior that caused the princesses of the Arabian Sheikh that had oil giants to leave. It's not about dump them with a meme. It's about escape right publicly. Divorcing. Bye-bye. I don't want to be with you. And then the person is feeling humiliated, aggravated over nothing. If you wouldn't mistreat a woman, then either she wouldn't run away, or even if she would be divorcing, it would be like Vishen Lakiani and his ex-wife having, I think it was 2017, they had a course about how to have a divorce that is acknowledging the mutual growing together and apart of people. And both of them would have dividends from that course and would part ways amicably, acknowledging if they had children or whatnot. dynamics that are subjugating, that try to create trauma bond. They think, oh, if she left, she's going to come back to me. You don't want her to. She's going to come back to you begging with poison in the back of her hand, because she will be scared of you and she will need to assassinate you to be free. But not because you want to inherit the money or be a widow, but because she wasn't allowed to live separately. Now, Mercury turns direct July 24, 16 degrees Cancer. Right where it's right now. It's on the degree when it will turn direct. So, yes, there are going to be bitter separations, because the toxicity of people that were thinking to subjugate the woman, and again, Jupiter is ruling over Lilith in Mula Nakshatra. I gave the example of the oil giants for a reason. There is going to be probably some very embarrassing exposure regarding the husbands that were and it's on their husbands. They have humiliated themselves, because to treat women, even behind, if you treat women behind closed doors bad, your reputation is going to completely crash. Why? Because the woman, what is the woman in a man's life? It's the woman that sees, wait a second, you come back from discussion with this person energetically feeling not good. Then what would the friend do? Would try to energetically harm the woman. That environment is not a good environment. Or you come back from conversation with this friend all depressed, and you say, okay, perhaps change the atmosphere, or perhaps take with you something that balances your energy, that you are more sovereign in your own energy. A woman in man's life to say, hey, this person, you stood over a principle that matters to you at work, and that colleague tried to convince you to pretend that you are crazy and you were overreacting and smooth things out. But that principle had a reason, because they were testing you to see if at first they take the morning coffee, then they freeze the salaries, if the person stands up and says no for the morning coffee, it sounds crazy, but it's a no. That morning coffee is a sign where something is becoming not so good, so we speak up at that sign. And the woman in man's life, even as friend, not just husband, as friend, not erotic, not anything, will say, you see this thing, at first they take the coffee, then they take the salary. And then they force you to have several years before you can work in another workplace and have your own ideas. And then you're dependent on them for your curriculum vitae, for the recommendation, your pension if it's a public sector, and then this person is telling you to pretending that you are crazy. I can tell you what the treatment today for the people that are considered cuckoo is: more inflammation. If you're going to have this activism and this activism and this activism and this activism and this activism. This is woman in man's life. If he mistreats woman, he will have only yes women in his life. Now, yeah, the woman that says yes is very important if that yes is will and consent. And that woman might warn him, but according to her dividends, let's say. Let's say if the man has a couple of salaries frozen, then he's already dependent financially on her. The woman that told the man, no, we make revolution over that coffee, wasn't looking for the dividends. She was having the best interest of the person in her heart, even when they're not married, even when they're not. The woman that would say, oh, if you make big mess there, then if you make big mess at this workplace, they might fire you, and then you will feel confused and not know what to do. So I will make you coffee. I will make you coffee to take to work. And he brings coffee that the wife is making to take to work. Now he's dependent on the woman. Then if they freeze his salary, said, no, nothing happened. Maybe they pay next month. But meanwhile, why won't we buy an asset now? Because asset now, we move together, and asset now, anyway, we would be considered known in public. Then the man's name on a loan, and this man has less power. Why? Because a woman that will be okay with him mistreating and subjugating, she will make him the coffee. But she would expect the house. And she would need him weak. She wouldn't need him discerning what energy of which friend brings him down and what energy of which friend brings him up. Not for him to leave those friends, but for him to discern his energy. And then he can say, okay, I can meet the person that is making me depressed every once in a while. I'm not going to abandon them. But there is limited amount of time that I can allocate to this, where I need to work, I don't know, on my PhD or a woman that is, let's say, not a yes man. If man says, oh, I see you're in financial crisis that he arranged, but going with the trajectory of women not being able to choose or vote or whatnot, then, oh, why won't you work for me and I will buy you lunch? I said, well, I need my rest. I need food that supports my nervous system. If meat, then good quality meat. If fish, then good quality fish. You don't want me to be psychotic as an employee. I need my rights, I need my insurance. There's a limited amount of what I can be paid, and then I need accountants. And also, to be honest, I'm recovering my own ability to work in my own business. I'm not the type of person that can get along in normal corporate job. I wouldn't go to study. If I could, I would go to work, and then I would go to study funded by work, like normal people do. If I went to study but not funded by work, is because already I was not getting along in corporate culture. That is not guilt of man, but society that is Epstein-like. That was the subprime crisis. I'm not the simple wife. I will never be the simple wife. If I will be wife, it means that there's going to be a robot that does the basharet, a robot that does the dishes, a robot that cleans the house, but you have to be sensitive because if there are kittens around, so they wouldn't vacuum the kitten. It will have to be a type of rewilding that manages itself, so we wouldn't be afraid. It would be enough space, so we wouldn't be afraid to suddenly have, I don't know, snakes and scorpions in the in the living room. If the washer rate was broken, I washed my pants, they have a little soap on it. It would be like the jokes of a man that says, my wife does laundry so well, when I walk in the rain, the laundry becomes cleaner because it still has soap. And if we want something that has got water to not get moldy, we need to summer somewhere. And also, not the type of person to get yeasty. So not what? Not courtesan. Even if we treat it by the standards of the Gilded Age, not a courtesan. And again, do I have something against women that would define themselves as the courtesan that is the free? No, but I would require for the entire legislation around marriage and abolition of human trafficking since infanthood. That's more interesting. Not compatible with this society, we'll look for other society, or we'll look for who within this society also want to change society. Today I saw a video of a person that has intergenerational blessing of land, and he was trying to live with nature. He said usually we would either have a natural reserve and keep people out of it, or we would be continuously ecological, overly immersing, but trying to make nature be nature for our goals, like agriculture. And he was trying to find the middle ground. So he had land and was trying to find the middle ground for living with. And he said he was visiting a nature where there was a palace of aristocracy. And he said he feels bad about this sometimes because only the people that had such privilege, it was reached by exploitation of millions of people. And then he himself wanting to somehow live with nature in a way that is not mogli, but also not exploitative. And I'm like, oh, that is very interesting. The number one thing is how we treat the feminine. And living in, and this type of disposition is already preparing us to come out of the courtesan-cartisan division. The people, sometimes they don't even think about it. And I had a friend that was relationship coach. The husband was mathematician, and she was very intuitive. But her husband, he was incredibly intuitive, but he didn't call it that way. She was trying to develop her intuition, and he was naturally picking on things. So that was how sometimes different people in their own different way can achieve with the same alignment. For example, what stories do we tell ourselves about trees? If we tell a story that, oh, the tree is depriving the younger tree from water, food, and so on and so forth, so that tree will grow resilient and grow for many years. It's a story. In some climates, that story is a documentary. In other climates, that story doesn't even need to be told, because there is prosperity, biodiversity, and abundance where the older tree doesn't have to educate the younger tree to be Spartan, let's say. And a story where we tell where a big tree makes agreement with a smaller tree that that tree will not grow so big, and that bigger tree will protect them. Certain environments, it's a documentary. Other environments is not needed at all, because each tree has their own immune system. And when the soil is rich, everybody has food. Now, what happens when we tell these stories about trees? And it requires people to laboriously plant trees continuously without any peace. Now, of course, we plant trees if we, let's say, build a house, or but we don't build a house every day, and whenever we build a house, we plant trees, and those trees can grow. Now, Mercury is already on the degree where it will go direct in just a couple of days. Today is 21, 24th, it already goes direct. And like I said, there is a purge to certain culture that is, and with that purge, people begin to see, when people talked about gaslighting, then they identified it in the family, in the friends, in the work circle, in the nation, and then the attempts to keep the order became more visible. You see everybody doing weird hand gestures. Nobody asked for these hand gestures. There are not nobody is that watching somebody doing hand gestures is consenting to anything. Nobody that was tortured or hacked the nervous system to do certain hand gestures is consenting to anything. And the more they try to put people in order, the more people go and reject that. And this is with Lilith. Lilith Mula Lilith is the woman that will not be subjugated. In Mula Nakshatra is the woman of the oil company will not be subjugated. It's the woman around the world greatest millionaires will not be subjugated. Um, and of course, with any spark of feminism, it means that suddenly we will have also men rebelling the status quo. Because there won't be, how should I say that? The men were abused by men and tried to rebel the women. They say, okay, you were looking for a simple woman, I'm not a simple woman. Bye. You try to create financial dependence between us. I don't want to be in such relation to begin with. And if you try to be provider, then it is also emotionally and it's also being safe. And if there's compatibility, if there's no compatibility, and you try to make a trad wife or housewife from a woman that is absolutely not compatible with that. Um, so much so that even to take, let's say, a cleaner feels weird, rather than the cleaner will have her own life trajectory and to take a robot so that the cleaner will be able to work on her own business. Such, not trad wife. Then um, where matchmaking is used as threatening as a weapon of control, such societies will be persecuted. Um, Now here is the thing. A woman, even as friend in man's life, she can identify with something, say, I'm not good woman for that person, not because I'm not good woman. I'm not going to subjugate my life in such way that that person, um, let's say, I would not move into house that he owns with him, because this is a place of the wife, okay, able to make family. I will not take that place. Um, but particularly when somebody thinks to move woman to house that he owns, that is on his name, take from woman right to vote, take from woman right to, then he's taking a flower and he is squashing that flower. And even Jordan Peterson, that is not feminist, says if you treat woman that way, she will become something that's unbearable to live with. And if you will punish her for being who she is, then all of your endeavors will fall like Pompeii. If you were a trillionaire, you will lose. And it's not because she did something. It's because how you treat the woman is a lot to do with being. Now, if it's gay relations, then between the partners. But they have to check that they're honoring the feminine, because it will erupt in ways that are unprecedented. Like one partner being almost the caretaker for another, and then when they need caretaking, let's say, that partner not able to be there. And it's not about blame and shame. Um, Now, when a person becomes aware, it's like, wait a second, they also need somebody to be there for them. When intent to their inner child, then they'll meet a person that's compatible for that. But if that person is also running away from their problems, trying to take care of them, then it can be that they are in the other equation of this. Now, if they're both aware that there can be such a thing, and at a certain time the partner had said that was running away from the problems begins to tend to the problems, and they know that that person won't be able to be there, so they already think about another person that will be able to be there, then there can be some sort of mutual healing where people are aware that there's a certain dynamic, and they go into that dynamic from place where their ability to care or be loving is meeting a need, and then the other needs will be met by other partners, for example. But when there is dishonoring of the feminine, even by women, there are expectations that are not built on reality. Because the basis, if we go back to example of man, if man is not erotically safe and emotionally safe for a woman, no matter what, not only for this woman, it means that he already knows to walk out of things that spark mutual things, then he will already have his thinking about politics would be different. He will never support trying to take from women right to vote and so on, not from being feministic, but from understanding life. Now, because the issues that come up with this Mercury retrograde have to do with Venus and Virgo can talk about purity. It dredges up all the misconceptions that people have around what is pure. Pure is where man is completely safe erotically, non-erotically. That is pure. Most infants on earth were raped. That is Mein Kampf Ultra. People can have a hashtag not Mein Kampf. And not all babies wake up screaming. And they don't know what it is. How did we get to this situation? Ideation of purity culture. The juxtaposition of that and selling people the dream about the trad life or even the prevalence of the provider men. Just like, if woman, let's say, was hurt and she has patterns are bipolar. Not bipolar, BPD, the other BPD, the other bear. Then it's that woman that will go through radical acceptance and will suddenly identify that, wait a second, oh, with this person that tries to control the conversation and acts narcissistically, she will be able to identify that, and then she will be able to say, okay, I'm not feeling insecure because of that. He is not treating me in a way that can allow me to be a safe woman. Now, of course, if there's a man that was not safe and a woman that was not safe and their patterns come up, then separation is okay. And if somebody say, okay, I was able to be a safe man, but not with you, amazing. Amazing. What are you doing here then? Maybe I'm able to be a safe woman, but not with you. Now, if you would allow me to leave, then maybe I would meet a man that I'm able to be a safe woman with, and a man that is safe for me, safe and free, and the world would be different. What would we be doing together? If in the culture there is rape culture, where people um, have all kinds of words for women that basically were raped sometimes in infanthood, and either were, usually they get called these names when they are saying no to men. It's then that culture is not environment. It's like the environment where I said that the story about the trees will be different than in an environment where everything can grow and has prosperity. Nobody can live under constraint of another. Yes, a woman that is and with this one, women are not the simple women, and there will never be the simple women. And there's no point to try to make everything, including the economy, try to put them into place of the simple. They're not compatible with that. And never will be. It will end up with the man being assassinated. Um, Not by the woman, by the way. Because if they torture women, what do these women have? Handlers. The handler is not there. The woman that will be a yes woman has a handler. The handler is not interested to be a yes man. He's interested to exploit, to extort, and to assassin. That's what Annika Lucas ran away from. Not to be in the hand of such handlers. And people are not going to have time to, how should I say, it's not on the women to explain themselves. Attempting to charge women for not agreeing to assassinate a man, basically, for not agreeing to murder a man, is first of all bizarre, and secondly, because to live in subjugation nobody can. The woman would get boom, and everything would explode, and one sudden day you would see a monster. Why? Because that woman was put in a situation where she had no place to be. If a woman has no place to be, nobody will have a place to be. Okay, if a woman doesn't have a place to be in her own house, out of her own house, being able to walk into her own house, out of her own house whenever she likes, nobody will have a place to be. If the land, if the soil is unnerved, nothing grows on the soil. Okay, it's Krakatoa weather. Ketu going to Makkah will make this, how should I say it, when Ketu will go through Leo, it will make this less dramatic and more detached, where we concentrate on the wealth redistribution so that men have, women have, when nobody is subjugated, if humanity is to sustain. Even when we talk about Mercury, is also the hand gestures, the manières, and those cannot be of subjugation and control. Particularly, people should be cautious from projecting, how should I say that, the men that think that women like certain things that the women don't like. If the woman says she doesn't like it, believe her. Remember, the equivalent of if a man tells you who he is, believe him. If a woman says to you she doesn't like it, believe her. Believe her. Trying to get her to that place is your assassination. Why? Because if a woman says, I don't like this, only place where she would be showing symptoms of different is if somebody is trying to be a handler. That somebody is trying to assassinate the man that says that the woman likes something that she doesn't like. Moon will oppose Chiron from Scorpio, and this is a different phase for the moon. There's something where it's to drop the emotional baggage that men have on women because they were subjugated by men is no longer possible. It backfires compoundly until Krakatoas upon Krakatoas erupt. It's given a very like a tsunami of Me Too. I don't know, because it's not something I see in the news, but it's given to me a feeling of a tsunami of Me Too. Because it's something that is already compounded to a mega tsunami. It's not something that was like, oh, we try to keep it under control. No, the whole problem was that people were trying to manage women or to keep them under control or to this. Is no. And this is why this crisis is not manageable. It's only full-blown women's rights or extinction of entire humanity. There's always a third option. There is always a third option when there's no subjugation. Relations, and here is where Mercury has difficulty in the water sign. Mercury is also the framing. Relations are not something that can be just framed in a different way and the woman will agree with the message. No, she will not. It will combustly compound like eruption that will collapse everything around it. The attempts to manage to control to this to that